my depression, you know, I just have to live for a fact. Maybe Justin Herbert isn't all that of a box of animals, Anthony. Maybe Justin Herbert isn't who I thought he was. No, he's my quarterback. That's my quarterback, and I'll always support him, just like you always support Captain Kirk Cousins. What is up, guys? Chase Oliver here, bringing you guys the NFL Week 7 recap. I want it to be Week 8 already. I just want to see my Chargers back in action, Anthony. They're on the bye week, but Week 7 recap. I'm here with Anthony. Anthony had a nice bye week too. His Vikings did not play this past week.
He did, or I did. There no Viking play this last week, but I was still celebrating Kirktober. How were you celebrating your Kirktober, Chase?
Watching Justin Herbert put up a really good Washington Commanders Kirk Cousins impression against the Seahawks.
That's rough.
Not a good Kirktober for the Chargers to start off with. But it could get better, Anthony, because guess what's coming up soon?
What?
NFL trade deadline. Now, I know the NFL trade deadline it's not as exciting as the NBA trade deadline, but we've seen some movement recently. These past few years, there's been some movement. And the NFL trade deadline, we've already seen a couple big trades. Christian McCaffrey to the San Francisco 49ers. What were your thoughts when you heard that McCaffrey went to the 49ers, and especially the pick haul that the Carolina Panthers got for it? I was surprised by the pick haul, but at the end of the day, I like the trade for both teams.
I agree. I think this is a good move for both teams. Obviously, the Panthers are terrible, so makes sense that they want to get some draft picks, look towards the future with the new coach. But in the case of the Niners, even though they just got killed by the Chiefs, that the NFC isn't the strongest. You should be able to win your division, hopefully, with Christian McCaffrey. I feel like the Niners are the best team in this pretty weak division in the West. So it's a huge move, especially you already are a backup quarterback. So getting some Jimmy Garoppolo help would be a great move. I think Christian McCaffrey, still a young player. I think this was a smart move for the Niners. And, it's not really, it's one of those moves too, where it's not really like a short-term one where you're just looking, it's to help for this year and next. Like, he should be your running back for a few years now. And he's a good receiving option too. Like, I think they gave up a lot to get him. And I think the draft this year, their first pick is in the 5th round. So like they are just out of draft picks, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I think McCaffrey will pay off for a while for the Niners.
Yeah, especially with Trey Lance is going to hopefully be the quarterback for the Niners next year. This is like, hey, we're surrounding Trey Lance with all these great playmakers, and we truly believe in what Kyle Shanahan. This was like a really good move for the 49ers, and we believe in Kyle Shanahan. Like, I find it ridiculous. People are dancing and saying the Panthers won this trade. But what? They got a bunch of draft picks. But if you look at the Panthers draft history, they're not drafting a bunch of good guys. I mean, didn't they draft Christian McCaffrey to be a difference maker for their franchise? They drafted this guy. They're the ones that said, let's spend a first-round pick on Christian McCaffrey. And they ended up sending him away. So really, to be honest, how good is the draft evaluation for the Panthers at this point? I mean, good for them. They got draft capital, and I'm pretty sure that draft capital, it might be used more to, get higher up in draft. It's more to help draft position, I think, because this upcoming quarterback class is pretty stacked. Maybe they like a Hetson Hooker. Maybe they like Bryce Young. Maybe they like C.J. Stroud. Those three are the big names. Maybe they're settling for Lil Levy's. We'll have to wait and see on that. But we also had a smaller running back trade. Unfortunately, Jets lost their stud running back, Breece Hall, who was having a fun rookie running back season. Looked like offensive rookie of the year. Lost him. Decided, for whatever reason, Jacksonville, you hate James Robinson. Give him to us. You don't like him. I don't know what he is. He's probably your best running back, but screw him. Give him to us. And smaller draft capital they gave up to get James Robinson. Does this keep the 5-2 Jets at 5-2, Anthony? Does this keep them on their winning ways?
I think so. Obviously, I think just about any running back they would get will be a downgrade from what they had naturally. So, but you're right. The Jaguars, it really doesn't surprise me, looking at how they run other organizations poorly. It does not surprise me that they're like, we have a good running back, so let's draft another running back in the first round. It's like, how do we say it, Chase? It's like bringing CM Punk into your locker room and thinking everything's going to be okay. It's like
Why?
doing that. Why would you do
Oh
something like that?
man.
So yeah, it does not shock me. So fortunately, in the Jets' case, they're able to get a pretty good running back here. I mean, this is the best possible move they can make at running back at this point. To replace him, obviously at 5-2, this is looking like a lot better of a team than I think anybody expected.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy about. I'm excited to see what their future is. And it's one of those moves that helps in the short term more so than the long term, but it doesn't hurt you in the long term either. I think it was a good move the Jets made, and they should be a playoff team this year, and that'll keep them down that trajectory. They won't lose that potential playoff now because they lost their star running back.
And then also, Robert Quinn just got recently traded, fourth round draft pick to the Chicago Bears, and he's now a Philadelphia Eagle. I love this aggressive Eagles approach. They're just like, this is what I like what the Eagles are doing. They're just saying, you know what? Let's just go all in. We see an opening. I was high on the Eagles before they made the trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I was high on the Eagles. I looked at the Eagles schedule. I looked at the Eagles roster, and I said, man, they could actually be the best team in the NFL record-wise, at least. I'm not saying overall roster-wise or this, that, or the other, but when you look at the NFC, who they play, their division, well, their division doesn't look that bad anymore. I mean, it's a pretty damn good division, but the Eagles, this is an organization right now that's realizing, like, hey, look, yeah, that's great, we're undefeated, but we're like 2 losses away from like being third place in our division because the Cowboys and the Giants just somehow keep up. So they're saying, hey, let's not fall behind. Let's get a proven commodity and a guy like Robert Quinn. Sure, take our fourth round pick. We don't know who we're drafting there anyways. We don't know if the kid's going to be good anyways. So yeah, take that fourth round pick, Chicago. You need more draft capital to help out Justin Fields. We don't need this draft capital because we have Jalen Hurts. So yeah, let's go all in. I like what the Eagles are doing. And there's also the spicy rumor they're trying to make a big trade for Alvin Kamara. That's the spicy rumor right now, is that Alvin Kamara could be a Philadelphia Eagle, which would be a very, very, I don't know if I would like that fit, to be honest, for the Eagles. Maybe it does help Jalen Hurts a little bit. Kamara is obviously a great running back, but I feel like I wouldn't trade for Kamara. I think what they have now at the running back position is fine enough, but I don't know. What are your thoughts on the Eagles and their aggressiveness being buyers in the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame them whatsoever. I mean, you got to look around the NFC and be like, it's pretty weak. I mean, I think you can eliminate really the South and the West. Outside of the Vikings, there's nobody in the North. So you're talking about your division having to compete with the Giants and Cowboys and the Vikings. That's it. And you beat two of those teams already this season. So, I mean, you look like you're the top team in the NFC right now. Let's enforce it. You only gave up a fourth round draft pick. I don't think this will be a long-term fix. You know, he's already 32. He'll be 33 next year. So he's probably not going to be good for too much longer. But hey, Robert Quinn is a very good player. Just helps that front seven even more for the Eagles. I think this was a brilliant move by them. And you're right. This division is tough. The Giants still have to play them twice. If the Giants can somehow sweep them, which I think is definitely in the realm of possibility, they sweep them, the Eagles are probably looking at a wild card berth. And if that's the case, yeah, bringing in a talent like this will really help playing probably road games if you end up being a wild card team.
Yeah, and I just want to ask Anthony, who are teams that you billing as sellers for this trade deadline? You look at their rosters, they're like, they could get rid of whatever dead weight or people they don't want to pay, get some draft capital back. I got a couple teams in mind, but I want to hear your picks to see if we're aligned a little bit.
Well, let's start out with the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what they have to sell, but at this point, losing to the Commanders, 3-4. I know Packer fans probably can pull up some weird stat from some odd season they ended up doing really well, but no, this is a different Packers team and in a bad way. Get rid of some of these players. You're obviously not trading Aaron Rodgers, but maybe it seems like you don't care about your running backs. Might as well get rid of AJ Dillon or Aaron Jones. Find homes for them. There's teams out there that want them. So they probably, to me, are one of the biggest sellers right now. Broncos. I don't really want the Broncos to be a seller.
Broncos are on my list of sellers.
Here's the thing, Chase. The Broncos, I think, could have been a really good team this year. They just picked a terrible head coach. I was not a fan of the hiring, and I've been proven right so far. But I feel like I feel like in the case of the Broncos, you could easily fix this in the offseason. You bring in the right coach, have him work with Russell Wilson, have him work with this team. This is easily a playoff team. There's a reason a lot of people picked them to be the playoffs. So I don't want to see him sell. I think this is a short-term season. You get in the right guy, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them deals like a Bradley Roby, or no, not Bradley Roby, Chubb. Thank you. But yeah, Bradley Chubb. I wouldn't be surprised to see him deal some of those players, but who knows?
I like the Packers pick because they got Bakatari, they got Jair Alexander, they got this other Smith, Preston Smith. Those are guys that you could actually deal away their contracts, and hopefully, because Aaron Rodgers is getting paid a lot of money, and then even then you can get some capital back for those players. I think Jair Alexander could probably fetch you a second round pick if you want to go down that route. But yeah, I have the Broncos as one of the best sellers. I mean, they have a lot of great talent that they can get rid of, and talent that they feel like won't fit the long term of that team. Bradley Chubb, they ain't going to pay him. They don't want to pay him for whatever reason. They paid Russell Wilson, so they said, we're not going to pay you. So yeah, get rid of him. Jerry Jeudy has just been a disappointment in Denver, and it seems like a change of scenery is a must for him. They still have Melvin Gordon on their roster, who they absolutely hate, so they can just trade away Melvin Gordon. You get a 5th round, 6th round pick out of it, but hey, at least you're trading away someone instead of having him on your roster where he doesn't want to be there. So I think they do have talent to trade, but my other seller is I think the Chicago Bears are finally realizing they're just like, you know what? We got to trade some of these defensive players that are expensive. Roquan Smith, bye. Eddie Jackson, maybe gone. It'll hurt as a Bears fan to see those guys go, but it's kind of necessary, especially with the next season and especially off season. They're gonna have they want to build up as much draft capital as possible so they can get a good talents for Justin Fields to throw the ball to, because you're pretty much wanting to build around Justin Fields. That's the whole point if you're the Chicago Bears. You don't want to freaking build around nothing. You want to at least have Justin Fields pan out. And for me, you got to just trade whatever you have that's worth a while, get some draft capital back, either use that draft capital to help you position yourself in the draft to get a top receiver or a top left tackle. Do something to make it where you're going to support Justin Fields, especially they're going to enter like free agency with most likely $98 million in cap. That's a lot of money that you're going to enter with, and especially because also the following season it will still be like 32 million that they can spend too. So you have 98 million this offseason, 32 million before you have to maybe extend Justin Fields. But even if you don't extend Justin Fields and you say, there's another rookie quarterback we like, you could just draft another one and replace Justin Fields easily and have a really good team around him. So I think the Bears, it'll be best if they trade away these expensive defensive players. But Anthony, is there any buyers? Are there any buyers for you saying, you know what, this team, like we already talked about the Eagles, but is there another buyer out there for you, Anthony? Is there someone that should be buying this trade deadline?
Hey, I'll start with my Minnesota Vikings. I think they really need some help on defense. I think, outside of this past game they had against Miami where the defense is playing top notch, the defense has struggled throughout. The offense was able to get it together enough to win. And, tight end, I guess, if there's a good tight end out there, Eagles traded last year their star tight end, Zach Ertz, to the Cardinals for not that much. If there's a trade like that out there, problem is they have the least amount of cap space in the league. But regardless, I think defensive help can definitely be huge for the Vikings. Giants, I think, would be a team to look out for because, nobody expected them to have one loss at this point of the season. So, I'm sure they can have some holes they can fill with via trade. I think that's a team to look out for, especially with how strong that division's been. The Eagles, the Jets, they've already made their moves, I think, but those are the two teams I go with.
For me, Anthony, I think my Chargers, they need to make some trades. I mean, this is the worst 4-3 team I've ever seen in my life. I'm surprised we're not 1-6. We should be one of the worst teams in the NFL. This is just ridiculous, this team. Justin Herbert is throwing to Jason Moore and Michael Bandy right now. There's a pissed off wide receiver on the Jets named Elijah Moore. Please and thank you. I don't care what you want to give up for him, but I would like him. I also feel like the 49ers should keep buying. I feel like the 49ers have a great chance. The Rams are normally the aggressor, and they lost out on the Christian McCaffrey trade. The Panthers decided to go with the 49ers end of the deal. And I feel that the 49ers, they should not be done. There's still some issues on defense that they need to fix, especially at that cornerback position. There's also some things that the 49ers, I believe, that they can get better at. And, maybe you want to take a call. Call New England. Is Mac Jones available? I mean, that's something that you do. It's not the NBA trade deadline where it'll get that crazy, but you got to think with Mac Jones and the Bailey Zappi situation, which I don't want to talk about it this week because we got to see what happens next week. That's going to be the telling if there's a QB controversy in New England. But it's kind of brewing. But Anthony, there is one QB controversy happening, and it's Indianapolis. We said on this first episode, we predicted this. We said Matt Ryan stinks. We said Matt Ryan was done. The first episode of this podcast, we said Matt Ryan's not good anymore. And Frank Reich agreed. Frank Reich said, this retread quarterback experiment is over. Bench Matt Ryan. Yeah, he's injured, but it doesn't seem like he might come back. He'll have to earn his way back into the starting lineup. Here comes Mr. We're back. Sam Ellering, former Texas quarterback. I remember when this guy did. You talk about Trevor Lawrence, Anthony. This guy was hyped up to be like Trevor Lawrence when he was a freshman. Jared Goff status, Josh Rosen, chosen Rosen status. This guy was being hyped up. This is where Sam Ellering was at. Now he's going to be the Indianapolis Colts starting quarterback. What are your thoughts on this, Anthony? I'm curious.
So I think the last 6 seasons I saw a stat that the Colts have had a different week 1 starter. And I mean, you're right. We both talked about how trash Matt Ryan was. Why you spent a 3rd-round draft pick on him, I don't know. That's their mistake, though. Unlike Carson Wentz, you're not going to get anything from Matt Ryan, though. Like, I mean, man, at this point, like, I guess if he's hurt, okay, sure, that's one story, but I don't think their quarterback of the future is on the roster. You might as well pay the guy who's getting paid millions to be your starting quarterback. Just let him keep starting. I think you're just shuffling chairs on the Titanic at this point. Other than I guess seeing if your 6th-round quarterback's going to pan out, like that's the only upside I see here, which I guess, hey, Matt Ryan's not going to work out, so I get why you're going to play him. But man, what a waste of a draft pick. What a waste of your cap space. Just a terrible move. The Colts seem like for years they're just okay. Yeah, we'll bring in Phillip Rivers. Yeah, we'll bring in Carson Wentz. Yeah, we'll keep Jacoby Brissett. Like they bring in all these people and think something's gonna happen, and it doesn't. Like at some point in time, it's been 10 years since you drafted Andrew Luck. At some point in time, you got to replace him, and you're not going to do it by continuing to trade for quarterbacks that are about to retire.
Michael, we're going to be talking about the Bucs here soon enough, so we're going to be revisiting Brady and Rodgers. Anthony and I, once again, we were Nostradamus again. We said they're going to they're struggling. We talked about this on the podcast, but we'll talk about that soon. The Colts, stubborn organization. This is just stubbornness. They saw something with the Phillip Rivers experiment where that was probably the best Colts team that they had put together constructively, overall roster wise. You had a fresher Jonathan Taylor. You had nice young receivers. You had a quarterback in Phillip Rivers that was kind of going there with nothing to lose. Like he was like Rivers knew, and you know me, I'm the biggest Rivers defender there is. I love Phil Rivers. He had nothing to lose, and that was probably one of the best Colts teams he had. I really felt the Colts could make the Super Bowl with that roster, and I was really, really hoping they would have, just for Phil, my boy. But, just like Phil and the Chargers, his team and his defense decided to let him down and not do anything for him. So, my poor boy. But, yeah, no, the Colts, they're just dumb. And now they're starting their 6th-round quarterback. And look, the one thing you can say about Sam Ellering is that he has pedigree. I mean, he's one of those guys that a lot of people were saying, he could have been, one of the top quarterbacks. He has the skills to be a guy that can be solid. But if you're replacing this guy for Matt Ryan the whole season, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. That is a waste because you wasted a 3rd-round pick. And I'm pretty sure if we went back and we looked at all the top 5 3rd-round picks or some of the 3rd-round picks this year, like, you would say, yeah, I think that the Colts would have liked to have this pick, and this pick instead of giving that pick to Atlanta and stuff. So it's one of those things that roster management is important. I always feel like the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft those three drafted there, those are kind of like good difference makers for your team. And if you're drafting them, yeah, 6th-round quarterback, and everyone's gonna say Tom Brady. That's a different situation, different. Yeah, it's all different. But you know what's different, Anthony? New York, New York. We have two great New York teams in the Jets and the Giants. I mean, I don't know. Something about this football season's beautiful when these guys are good. Are you happy, Anthony, to see that the New York Jets and the Giants, they have something to smile about?
I
Are you happy?
I am, I have families from New York. I have family that are Jets and Giants fans. They've been very quiet the last decade or so. I know they're pretty happy right now. And I'm pretty happy for them too. Both teams have always held a special place in my heart. Definitely not. I like to see them win, which hasn't been often the last decade. So I'm happy to see them both do well. I really liked both head coach hirings the last 2 off seasons. I think Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh are really paying off for both of them. And I think the thing that these two teams share is the largest reason they are doing well is because of those two head coaches. Yep. And I think it proves a lot because the quarterbacks, what's so different about Sam Darnold or Eli Manning the last few years of his career? I mean, they're playing, neither of these quarterbacks are playing spectacular right now. So it's really the coaching. They've really helped, change the cultures as teams love to see. I'm very happy for these two teams. I think this is not a one-year wonder. I think we're really seeing it. And frankly, Brian Daboll especially might have saved Daniel Jones' career in New York, at least given him more years than what he would have had prior to this season. So I'm very happy. I hope to see these two teams do something in the playoffs, as long as it's not against the Vikings.
Sauce Gardner is probably one of the best cornerbacks we have seen come out into the NFL since Patrick Peterson. Mm-hmm. This guy is just phenomenal. Minus one play where it was a miscommunication. He has not given up a huge touchdown. I mean, Surtain the second's also a really good cornerback too. And, my own Asante Samuel Jr. hasn't been playing bad either, but man, this kid's incredible, man. He is incredible. I get lost in this sauce watching this film. I love cornerback film, and it's like he just plays so good. And I was high on him, especially after the national championship game where he shut down Jamison Williams. And I was like, if you're shutting down Jamison Williams, you got to be a pretty damn good cornerback. And Sauce Gardner is just that. I'm glad both teams are good because it makes for more fun football. Good fan bases, strong fan bases. New York fans are loud and proud. It's also a nice little underdog story and good head coaches. Like you were saying, personality. Robert Saleh is hilarious. This guy, like in the beginning of the season, we have the receipts. Everyone who talks bad about us, we're going to let them know. Like the most Jets coach you could say, the most coach Jets scene I've ever heard. Like, we have the receipts. What are you talking about? You're the Jets. And here they are, 5-2. And it's like, yeah, you have the receipts, bro. Like, it's now a good meme that they have. And then Brian Daboll, this guy a lot of people did not think would pan out the way that he did. And he's perfect. Like, he's just pretty much just saying, who do I have to work with? Well, this, and this. Okay, fine. I'll find a way to make it work. It's not like the other coaches where they have like, oh, well, they don't have the talent. No, Brian Daboll goes like, all right, this practice squad wide receiver, you're going to run this route. You're going to get open. Trust me on this. And it works. So it just does this thing. He's reinvigorated Saquon Barkley. That defense is just fun to watch too. They just have a bunch of fun college players I like. I'm like, oh man, I remember that guy in college. I'm like, oh man, Jabril Peppers. Oh wow, he's still around. I'm like, yeah, I like this. So, Killer or Demon, we both like the Niners trade for McCaffrey. We said it was a win-win for both teams. I think that the Niners did the smartest thing with that. But you know who's not so smart right now, Anthony? My head coach, Brandon Staley. He's kind of a goofball, and we might have to have this discussion. We might have to sit down. I'm not ready for this discussion. Like when your significant other sits you down and says, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel with Justin Herbert right now. We need to talk. Anthony, is my quarterback Justin Herbert? And I'm not going to use the word a lot of media have been throwing around because I think that's disrespectful. I don't think he's overrated. But do you feel my quarterback Justin Herbert is overpraised? I mean, the last 2 games, the primetime game did not help where he was captain check down most of that game. And then this game against the Seahawks, this was a stat before garbage time. He was 22 out of 24 throwing under 10 yards, 4 of 10 throwing 10 plus yards.
Chase, I have him on multiple fantasy leagues, so I've been feeling the pain at least a little bit this season when it comes to Herbert. I don't know what it is. I wasn't expecting a season like this from him. I thought if anything, this would kind of solidify him as a top 5 quarterback, and it just hasn't. If anything, it's taken a step back from that argument. I don't know what it is with the Chargers. You brought up earlier about how this might be the worst 4-3 team you've ever seen, and it feels like that kind of just because I don't know what it is. Staley. I think when you see how well Justin Herbert's played in his short career, you don't want to point the finger at him. You want to point the finger at the coach. And I think that's rightfully so. But, something's got to change this offseason, and maybe it is the coach. But, man, if your Chargers fail to make the playoffs, Chase, that's not good. That should not be the reality for the Chargers this year.
Still the 7th seed, so we got a chance. We got a chance to make the playoffs, but it'll be ugly. I think with Herbert is this, and I love the kid. He was my favorite quarterback coming up. This is a true story. I was praying that Justin Herbert wouldn't come out of college the year he was draft eligible, because I was just like, please, one more year. Yeah, maybe the Chargers will suck enough to get this guy. Well, I actually felt Herbert would have fallen in the 20s because people were all up in the air about the kid. And then when Herbert decided to stay in Oregon, I celebrated. I acted like I won a Super Bowl. I said he's going to be the Chargers quarterback. And I was huge on Herbert. He was my QB number 1. I was so scared the Dolphins were going to draft him, and I would have to be forced to watch more Tua Tagovailoa. And I've watched enough Tua Tagovailoa. I know what I'm getting from him. He's one of my favorite Alabama quarterbacks. Now Bryce Young is my favorite Alabama quarterback of all time. AJ McCarron 2, Tua 3. It's a fair balance.
Yes.
McElroy, maybe Greg McElroy a little bit higher than Tua. That just be real. But Tua does hold a special place in my heart. But the thing is, I was so afraid, and so I was so happy when we got Justin Herbert. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if the coaching staff has made him afraid to throw the deep ball or take shots or take chances. I don't know if he's still like not 100% at throwing the football, because I feel like it's a rib injury. I feel that the rib injury is still holding back what he can do as a quarterback, because the first 2 games, heck, we can even add the game after Jacksonville too against the Browns. That looked like the Justin Herbert that we've all wanted. We were like, oh, that's Justin Herbert. And the thing is, we see a lot of the games and we're like, okay, yeah, Justin Herbert, this guy can actually go. This guy is actually a really good quarterback in the NFL. And the problem is, I feel like a lot of people just fell in love. Like, this is why I say highlights are always bad for people who don't watch full games. I think people just fell in love with those highlight plays, like the one against the Giants where he's rolling out and he just chucks it to Jalen Guyton as he's getting hit, and it's a touchdown for the Chargers, or the one against Tampa Bay where he also is getting hit and he chucks it. You just see these freakish throws that you just watch the highlights and you say, oh yeah, Justin Herbert's great. But you got to do more than just watch the highlights. You got to watch the games. And I feel like it's just one of those things where the highlights of Herbert were just too high for people, and they just fell in love with that. They just fell in love with the clip culture that the NFL is, and it's a shame because I like Herbert. I think he's still a top 10 quarterback. I definitely think he's a top 10 quarterback, and especially with talent. I just think that right now he's not elite. He's not top 5, but I still think he is the difference maker that the Chargers need. And yeah, you're right. The Chargers need to do something soon because they need to let Herbert rip. They need to show trust in Justin Herbert. A lot of the times too, it's the route combinations. All these routes are short. The way that they design these plays is all these goopy little screen passes and stuff. Like, why is Justin Herbert playing like he's Drew Brees, bro? Like, this guy has an arm still. Like, fucking let him rip. But yeah. I hope Justin Herbert does good, Anthony, soon, because otherwise I might be like Packers fans and Tampa Bay fans and be worrying. I might be sitting here crying and worrying that my quarterback will end up like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. We were so wrong, Anthony. We said Tom Brady after the divorce, he was going to be angry. He was going to show vintage Brady. Has not even shown that. Just looks horrible and pedestrian. He looks sick. And then Aaron Rodgers, we talked about it. Should we be worried? And we both were saying, oh yeah, something's wrong with Rodgers, and then they had their couple wins, and then we're like, oh, what idiots we were. Rodgers is back, but both these guys, man, they just look rough. I mean, who looks rougher, Anthony? Brady or Rodgers?
Well, I don't want to say Brady, so I won't. Here's the thing. I was thinking about Chase. I'm like, if I feel like one of these guys retire this offseason, and I don't think it's Tom Brady. Like the way it's going down in Green Bay, like let's start with them. I think it gets worse before it gets better. I just don't I don't see how it gets better for the Packers. So unless Rodgers can maneuver his way to another team, I think this is it for him. And I think part of it is, in the past with the Packers, with Mike McCarthy, he could make up for the deficiencies. But I also think Davante Adams being gone really masked a lot of the problems Aaron Rodgers has had. He doesn't have that star receiver. And here's the thing, this past week especially, I know the Buccaneers lost, but Mike Evans had a ball that was in his hands and he just dropped it for no reason.
That was like a momentum shift. That killed the whole momentum for the Tampa Bay game.
And here's the thing. Tom Brady would have got credit for a touchdown and a big reception on that one. People will be talking a lot different just because they're looking at the stats. I think Tom Brady still got at least a couple more years in this league.
No, he looks a couple more years.
I think so.
No, okay, the thing with Brady this year, Anthony, he's just chucking it. He's like my uncle in the Thanksgiving game. He thinks he's just chucking these damn balls deep down the field. He's not Brady literally is just rushing every throw. This year with Brady, I don't feel like he's he's not patient. He used to be patient, I feel like he just doesn't want to get hit. He's just I'm taking too many of these, man. I'm trying to get the ball down the field and push it and stuff. But
here's the thing, Peyton Manning, when it was his time, the season before, that last month of the season, I remember he didn't look that great. And then the next season, he was really bad, but the Broncos won the Super Bowl. A part of me feels like we're seeing that second to last season of Peyton Manning this year with Tom Brady, where I think next year it might be really bad. But it's Tom Brady. This man takes care of his body, I feel like, better than any person on the planet. So I'm not going to count him out. I do want to bring this up, too. They don't have Bruce Arians as their head coach anymore. Todd Bowles was a failure with the Jets. I think people don't talk about that enough, how bad Todd Bowles was and how good Bruce Arians was when he was with the Cardinals. I think that's a big deal that people just are not talking about. The coaching change.
Wasn't it Todd Bowles against the Bills? They could have beat the Bills, and then he ran a zero blitz against the Bills, and it ended up being a touchdown. It's what are you doing? Just play stay back football. Anyone knows this. Yeah, Todd Bowles is not a good head coach. Very, very aggro for no reason. And Leftwich, I think Leftwich's stock went down as a coordinator because a lot of people were high on him.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like his play calling stinks. I'm literally dude. You have literally 3 or 4 wide receivers you can use. Russell Gage is a good slot guy. Chris Godwin probably is going to be the next number 1 receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Mike Evans is still Mike Evans. He's still great. And it's you can't do anything with these guys. Oh my God, these guys should be running the field pretty well and stuff. But that's my thing. That's my thing with this. It's just that they're just not doing a good job with the roster. They're just really not going to do a good job with the roster of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the Packers, I'm with you. I just feel like Aaron Rodgers, it's a lot of people saying, oh, Rodgers still has the arm. Have you not seen the games? He's been underthrowing his wide receivers. He's literally throwing them underthrown. He's throwing it man to man. I feel like the Davante Adams, because Adams took away so much attention that if Adams was still on the roster, a guy like Romeo Doubs would still be good. He would still, he's fine talent. But he would actually be doing much better if Davante Adams was on the roster. And, you could see it too. We had our fantasy draft. And remember, I was hesitant between Aaron Jones and one player. And our good friend Brandon said, Rodgers has to throw to someone. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I got to go with Aaron Jones. And this guy's a beast. He's a PPR machine. Him and Austin Eckler, they're just catching garbage passes from their quarterbacks. It's great. But, yeah, I think both these guys, we're not going to be talking about them come later in the season for MVP. Now, Anthony, do you remember who you chose as your early MVP? Do you remember this or no?
I don't know if I do, Chase. You might have to give me a second on that one.
You chose Josh Allen. You chose Mr.
Well,
Josh
thank
Allen to be
you.
your early. Yeah, and I chose Lamar Jackson. Now, Anthony,
Ooh.
you can either cash in and say, you know what, Chase, I'm still riding on Josh Allen, or you can hedge and choose another person as your MVP. Are you hedging, Anthony, or are you sticking with Mr. Josh Allen?
I'm sticking. I'm sticking easily. I mean, people are talking about the Bills as the best team in the league now, especially coming off their Chiefs win. You know, why would I change? Josh Allen's really good. I think it's a matter of time until he wins MVP. Is it going to be this season? Maybe not, but this man's going to retire with at least one MVP to his name.
You know what, Anthony? I'm gonna have to hedge my Lamar Jackson. So if we hedge,
Good
this is the
call. Good
rule.
call.
This is the rule. If we hedge, we can't go back to this person.
Ooh.
So I can't go back to Lamar Jackson. I can't choose him, even if he becomes better. I like him. I like Lamar still. I think Lamar is good, but he's slowing down a little bit. He's like kind of slowing down. I don't know what's going on. I guess Rashad Bateman was really the answer. Like this guy is throwing to all these other people, and they don't want to catch footballs from him. Not even Mark Andrews. Like Mark Andrews is losing the footballs in the sun. But Anthony, my MVP pick is probably the most disrespected quarterback in the NFL. I know he lost head to head. Not
Shit.
him. I know.
Oh. Wow.
Shit. That's funny. No. I know he lost to your pick head to head, but I still feel Pat Mahomes is the most disrespected quarterback. And so I am changing my MVP prediction, and we'll come back to this week 14 and when it's probably closer and we'll decide. But I am now picking one Mr. Patrick Mahomes as the MVP. He has just looked phenomenal. I'm just gonna say he's looking great. He's having a great. I feel people are not talking about how great he's been looking. To be honest, I feel like it's just like, oh yeah, Josh Allen's doing good. What about Mahomes? He's doing great too. The Chiefs are in a prime position. They keep kicking teams' asses. Like I don't know. I just feel like if there's no Mahomes, there's no one else. Like he's so scary. I hate that I have to play this guy every year, man. He's scary as hell. So I got Patrick Mahomes as my new midseason MVP. What are your thoughts on Patty Mahomes? Should I have gone somewhere else? I know recently Joe Burrow has had some love, but he's only had a couple good games, so I'm not going to go there. Jalen Hurts, he's still a nice little dark horse, but I wanted to keep my Jalen Hurts pick for later, so that's why I didn't choose him. But Patty Mahomes, I'm feeling good about this one, Anthony. I feel good about hedging Lamar for Patty.
Well, I was thinking you were going to switch from one purple number 8 to another purple number 8, but maybe you're saving the Kirk Cousin pick for December.
What has he done?
That, Chase.
No,
take his team to 5-1. 5-1.
Stat wise, he hasn't done crap compared to Pat Mahomes.
I mean,
if anyone purple on your team's the MVP, it's freaking Jay Jettas.
Well, Justin Jefferson. Yeah, I guess you want to put a 1 in front of that 8. Is that what you're telling me, Jace? Because I'll take that too.
I would pick him over that, but we know quarterbacks are favored.
Well, regardless, though, Patrick Mahomes definitely a strong pick. This man will retire with multiple MVPs unless he decides to retire early. You can't go wrong with Patrick Mahomes. But you can when Josh Allen just beat him a couple weeks ago.
I know this, but I still think Mahomes will win the MVP. I don't care.
All right, Chase.
Someone asked if we think the Mahomes and Josh Allen rivalry will be like Brady and Manning. Brady and Manning was like so different. Like this is what I tell people. Brady and Manny was like so different because they were both great for so many reasons. But Brady was great because he was winning titles. Manning's great, but he didn't. What's it called? He didn't win in as much titles as Brady. I mean, it could be, but it'll be more fun games because these guys like to sling it. But I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be as great. CPZ just being a hater like always in my chat. Don't like this. I see. I'm ignoring CPZ. I don't know if you noticed, Anthony. My favorite mixed martial artist of all time, Anderson Silva. He's fighting our YouTuber, Jake Paul, fellow YouTuber, in a boxing match, and might take a dive, and I might be upset. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Mahomes versus Josh Allen, Brady Manning?
Oh, I think that'll get us. That's what's going to be as close to that of who we have for options, two AFC quarterbacks going head to head, and I think it'll be a little closer. For the most part, Brady would beat Manning, but Manning would get all the MVPs. Yeah, I think this is a pretty close to Peyton Manning, Tom Brady rivalry as we'll get in the NFL. But hey, let's say this. Maybe just maybe if Tom Brady keeps playing for a few more years, we might get a new Brady Manning rivalry in the NFL.
No, God, Archie.
Yeah, Arch Manning. Maybe
I think Arch Manning's ship has. I mean, he went to Texas, bro. I don't know if I trust that.
Well, we got probably, I think, 4 years till he'll be draft eligible.
No, 3 years. He'll be 3
years.
Yeah.
So, maybe 3 years is about a good time for Kirk Cousins to.
If he was an Alabama Crimson Tide quarterback, maybe, but not a Texas Longhorn.
Well, better than Texas Tech, like some people we know.
Oh my goodness! I thought you were going to say Michigan because that was one of the schools that he was actually going to go to.
No, I just Brandon might not be here. He might not listen, but I gotta while I can, Chase.
Yeah, no, you got to take your little jab. Just like CPZ likes to take jabs at me for. I don't know why he's a Jake Paul fan. It really upsets me. It really does. But anyways, Anthony, where can the great people find you?
Well, we got Twitter at Effie and Anthony. You can follow me on Twitter, see what I got to say about the Viking games and anything else going on in the world.
Who you guys playing? Who the Vikings playing this week?
The Arizona Cardinals.
That's a trap game. It's in
Minnesota. They got 2 weeks to prepare.
And let's see.
Did a new game come out?
Yeah, Modern Warfare 2, I believe, came out this past week.
Did it really? Okay, well.
Yeah.
Man, too bad. Better luck next time.
I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals, after that win, they kind of got a little bit of light. DeAndre Hopkins, there's that one image where Kyler was yelling at Cliff Kingsbury. And who was in the middle of that was D-Hop. He was like, hey, man, let's stop. Let's not argue and everything. I like that. I liked what I saw from there. That's great leadership by DeAndre Hopkins, so, and he looked good too. I'm very happy. I'm glad that I stashed him in one of our fantasy leagues and that we're in. But I feel like you guys should win that game. Go on, be 6-1, be second in the NFC. Maybe the Eagles fall to one of the teams they're playing. I think they're playing a couple bad teams, and I feel like that could be some trap games too. But coming off the bye, that's always scary for me. My Chargers, we had the bye week, so we're gonna go 4-4. Somehow Brandon Staley is gonna lose to himself in the bye week, and he's gonna call a timeout when he doesn't need to. Go 4th and 1 and tell our 5'9" running back, hey, just run into all these big fat dudes. I hate Staley, bro. I'm just so done with Brandon Staley. This guy needs to just go away.
Well, hey, Chase, if you want to move on to a new defensive coach, I know one who got fired last offseason, and he got signed by nobody this offseason. He's not even on a team.
Who?
The former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, no. Look. So the Chase Oliver dream list is very short because there's nothing. So this is my dream list. 1, Lincoln Riley. Hey, fuck USC. Come play for the LA Chargers. Nice, young, fun offensive head coach. He'll draft a bunch of speedsters. He'll make the offense fun. Who cares? Let's go with him. 2, I don't want to say Sean Payton, but I kind of have to because he's better than a lot of other coaches out there. And then 3, if we're going to go defense, we got to go with Dan Quinn. I think Dan Quinn deserves another head coaching opportunity. And the thing with Dan Quinn knows that it's like, I don't know shit about offense. He finds these Shanahans and all these loser dweebs that love offensive play calling, and he tells them, yeah, you do your nerd shit. Go do your analytics and so that's what Dan Quinn does really, really good. He did it in Seattle, and he did it in Jacksonville, and he did it in Atlanta. That's why I'm like, okay, this guy is going to be a good head coach again, and I really would like Dan Quinn to be a head coach for the Chargers. I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Chase, no," Because this is what you do. He'll find some Mike McDaniel, some weird dude that loves number crunching and loves offense, and he'll be like, yeah, just find ways for Herbert to push the ball down the field. Like,
there you go.
Yeah, so I'm on the Dan Quinn train. There's because who's a good offensive coordinator coach, Anthony? Who's a good offensive coordinating coach?
Well, here's one I'd say you should look at. The Vikings almost got him, but changed their minds at the last minute. Current Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh, not been proven wrong about that. They are doing very well this year in Michigan. LA, big market. Maybe that'd be enough for Jim to come back to California.
And Super Bowl coach. He did appear in the Super Bowl, got the most. I wouldn't be mad at that, Jim Harbaugh. I was actually also thinking, but like none of the coaches that, because the thing is, there's OCs that I want, but I don't want them as my head coach. Like Pep Hamilton, I don't think's ready to be a head coach. Shane Steichen, who's the Eagles offensive coordinator, used to be part of the Chargers. I don't know if I want him as my head coach right now. Like they don't feel like head coach enough. Bieniemy, we just realized this guy's a fraud. Like he doesn't even do anything. Like he just fools us. He just stands there. He does nothing. Andy Reid's calling the play calls and stuff. So yeah, I like that pick though. I'm loving the Jim Harbaugh. And I can see it now. Who's got it better than us? Nobody. I can see the T-shirts and stuff like that.
There you go.
I like that. That's way better than like a Sean Payton. So Jim Harbaugh and Dan Quinn are probably my 1 and 2 when it comes to like NFL coaches. And if we're going to go through the college rank, it's obviously Lincoln Riley. I think the Jets also have another head coach, offensive coordinator that people like from there, but I forgot his name. His brother's a head coach. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate anyone who came into the live chat. Spotify, YouTube, hit the ball button. Have yourself a wonderful Wednesday night. Light the fuse. Boom. Dynamite.